Good day everyone, and welcome to a special video covering the entire When Day Breaks canon me and Sumerian have been developing over the last few years. There have been a fair few characters and storylines established so far, and with so many of them, and with some of these storylines and characters starting to overlap, I think now's a great time to just take a step back and make sure everyone is up to date on where we're at and where we're going. So, a quick word from today's sponsor, and we'll get started. The SCP Artbook campaign is still ongoing, and they have obliterated their original milestone as so many of you have signed up to getting the next edition. For hitting the stretch goals, every single backer who has pledged to at least one book now gets the digital wallpapers, stickers, bookmarks, limited edition playing cards, the 001 postcards, the Red Sea object card, the SCP comic book, and now the SCP chance coin as well. The next reward is the coveted SCP-173 acrylic stand, with even more bonuses after that still to come. These books contain dozens and dozens of SCPs and beautiful artwork, all perfectly laid out like an actual classified SCP document. There are testimonies from SCP researchers, letters from the administrator, cross-testing files, infographics on the MTF and SCP object classes, and so much more. Hit up the Kickstarter so you can go and get your own batch of the books at a very affordable price. Follow my link below to get the new improved SCP art books and get all the cool extra products today. Right, so let me set out the storylines we have and then we'll work our way through them. There is the original Logan Igota storyline, the Unlondon storyline, the IKEA storyline, the Dr. Bright storyline, the SCP-106 storyline, and the SCP-682 storyline. This list isn't final, so there might be some more storylines to come. I haven't had any others come to mind yet, but who knows. There are some one-off tales too, they have their own section. These aren't actually part of an ongoing storyline though, they're just one-off self-contained stories. Let's now go through these storylines, give you all the cliff notes, point out where these stories overlap, and give you an indication of where things are headed. Firstly, we have the original Logan Igota from Site-46. Her story was the very first one we covered, a very touching and emotional tale that sums up what the When Day Breaks event was, as well as her slow descent into crippling depression and insanity following the loss of her partner Ari and Logan's failed attempts to bring her back from the dead. It is implied at the end of the tale she overdosed on a bottle of pills. The individual who stumbled across Site-46 and found these files did not, however, find the body of Logan. The unnamed individual was discovered by the Flesh. The individual's fate is unknown, but the ending implies that they were taken by and likely converted by the Flesh. Logan briefly appears in a crossover with SCP-106's storyline, something we will get to later, but otherwise, her storyline ends here. Next we have the Unlondon storyline. This one initially follows a large group of SCP staff members taking refuge in Unlondon. Following an attack from the Flesh, only 3 survivors escaped Unlondon as it burnt to the ground: Jacob, Elise, and Kira. Jacob was a containment specialist, Elise was a research assistant, and Kira was the head of security. The creator of Unlondon provided sanctuary and transport, and invited them to Undublin, where the creator shared his plan to take the fight to the Flesh. By starting a nuclear Armageddon using SCP-1984, a Russian Cold War relic that promises nuclear retaliation in the event of a first strike from the West, the Flesh would be largely wiped out, while the sunlight would be blocked out for a time, giving humanity a chance to try and find a long-term solution. It was revealed another SCP staff member, Director Moose, was escorting survivors to the Wanderer's Library via a gateway in Undublin. Elise elected to stay behind to assist in the evacuation efforts. Jacob and Kira headed back out into the world, accompanied by a small contingent of bobbies to act as a security detail and as escorts to find a nuclear submarine to put the creator's plan into action. While we know from other tales that the plan to start a nuclear Armageddon was successful, we have yet to explore their storyline further, but we will. Next we have the IKEA storyline. Following a breach of the Infinite IKEA by the Flesh, Jamal and a group of survivors were rescued by members of Mobile Task Force Epsilon-9, the Fire Eaters. They were then evacuated and recruited into the SCP Foundation's ranks as a separate task force working alongside Mobile Task Force Epsilon-9 to recover high-value surviving SCPs. Their storyline is still to be continued, however we know from the end of SCP-682's tale that both them and MTF Epsilon-9 are trying to locate and recover SCP-682 and SCP-053. Why? Time will tell. And now we move to the Dr. Bright and Dr. Sumerian storyline. Dr. Bright was converted to flesh right at the start of the event, however the properties of the amulet that hold Dr. Bright's soul refused to part with Dr. Bright, and so the Sun was unable to claim and hold Dr. Bright, who instead is now stuck in limbo in the flesh consciousness, but retains all his intelligence and personality. Dr. Sumerian and a band of survivors composed of MTF members and researchers were taking refuge inside an SCP site. Following a communication blackout with a large part of the team, the rest ventured out to discover them all dead. The flesh form of Dr. Bright then appeared to them all with a plan of his own to activate SCP-2000 to restore humanity. All but Dr. Sumerian decided against this plan, staying behind, while Sumerian and Bright ventured off out into the world towards Yellowstone. The last we saw of the pair was them taking shelter in a bunker as a nuclear missile detonated over SCP-2000. Now the SCP-106 storyline. SCP-106 was freed in the very early days of the When Daybreaks event by a mysterious woman from the Wanderer's library. Her reasons and motives are as of yet unclear. However, the terms of the old man's freedom are simple. He carries the worthy to his own dimension to die away from the Sun's corruption, and in return, he is granted total freedom, and he can consume as many children as he pleases, so long as they die in his dimension. The woman, however, holds the power to entomb him in his cell permanently should he break the deal. It was revealed as well that Logan Igota's body was never recovered from Site-46 because SCP-106 offered her peace at last in his dimension, an offer she accepted. SCP-106 made a brief appearance in the SCP-173 tale where he and the woman were seen escorting another soul to safety. Lastly, the SCP-682 storyline. Following years of experimentation and cross-encounters, 682 and 053 have bonded and become best friends. 682's hostile nature is slightly lowered in the presence of 053, and 053 thinks of 682 as both her best friend and as a teacher of sorts. It has been revealed to us that 053 is immune to the sunlight for an as of yet unexplained reason. The flesh will even turn to ash upon physical contact with her. In contrast, 682, however, is vulnerable to the sunlight and is currently sheltering both himself and 053 under an inorganic canopy attached to his hide. They are both currently on the run from the flesh. At the same time, MTF Epsilon 9 and the IKEA team are trying to locate and recover them both for unknown reasons on the orders of a character only known as 2. And finally, we come to the one-off tales. In a Halloween special, we saw a survivor hiding from the sunlight in the sewers below California. He found a young girl who he tried to save as the flesh chased them through the remains of a taken settlement. The young girl eventually was revealed to be flesh all along, and the survivor was taken for conversion. In another, we caught up with a small group of Foundation researchers inside one of SCP-179's monitoring stations. SCP-179, true to her nature, indicated the Sun was a threat to humanity prior to her then being destroyed by the sunlight. In a recorded message received shortly after the When Daybreaks event began, it is revealed that the Sun has turned on all life, and that there is nowhere to go and nothing to be done, only to hide. In the next tale, we find Murphy, a lone engineer living in a damaged SCP site in the middle of the desert, with only the SCP-131 twins for company. SCP-049 and a horde of his creations are contained in the basement, with no understanding of what is going on in the world, and are hell-bent on finding him. The Doctor's creations finally disable the defenses and kill the 131 twins before cornering Murphy. In a fit of rage, grief and despair, Murphy opens the site to the Sun that melts all of the Doctor's creations to flesh, dooming both SCP-049 and ultimately himself. We catch up with SCP-096 next, who is doing his thing, crying and mooching about in the ruins of a dilapidated SCP site. He befriends a blind girl after killing her mother, and both cares for her and loves her. After the flesh lure the blind girl out to the Sun, SCP-096 gives his life in an attempt to save her from the sunlight. SCP-096 is seen melting in the sunlight overlooking the sea, while the fate of the blind girl is left unknown. SCP-173 makes an appearance in the next tale. This tale takes place several months after the When Daybreaks event has begun, with most of the SCPs in this site long gone, and only the rotting corpses of the staff found littering the halls. The flesh manipulates 173, giving it the attention it craves, and persuades him to come to the sunlight where it is taken by it. SCP-173, however, does not dismay or attempt to save himself, but rather rejoices in the admiration and love it is finally receiving. The inanimate stone remains are destroyed sometime later by a nuclear missile detonating nearby. And finally, the flesh assaults the Garden of Eden, leading to a spectacular battle between the biggest titans the flesh can muster and Uriel himself as they fight for the security of paradise. The deer itself is used as a weapon against Uriel. They battle to the death and are both finally killed by the raw power of Eden being used as a weapon by Uriel to destroy the flesh deer. And that is where we are so far. There are new entries being written for the 106, 682 and IKEA storylines. As it stands, all the storylines now need to reach the nuclear winter section before I can start going past it. Once we hit that bit where the storylines are at the same point in time, me and Sim can start introducing the last couple of storylines if there are any, and moving the story forward from there. There are also some more standalone tales planned as well, covering more SCPs and their response to the When Day Breaks event. Two big mentions I would like to take the time to point out and thank are firstly SD-Lock for writing SCP-001 When Day Breaks. Who would have guessed that one video would have encouraged so many of you to put forward more ideas that eventually blossomed into its own developing canon? And of course, a massive thanks to Dr. Sumerian as well, my co-author throughout this project. Please go to his channel and drop him a comment thanking him, I'm certain he would appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, I hope you liked this video and be sure to like and subscribe if you did. Massive thanks to all the patrons and members for keeping this channel going, please consider joining them. And thank you to Rick Trexon, Wings of a Meme, Number of the Yeast, Splendy the Tear God, Razman, Guardian of Energy, Luna Wilson and Sam Samuel. Big thanks to the council members, Arctoast, Kibara, Captain Core, Hunter Killer, Tree, Cat Clone, Bane, Monarch, Kikaran, Your Local Agent, Dtex and Dr. Nightwraith. And huge thanks to the administrators Andre Bachert, Viger Kamana, Infinitune, Pro Voice Actor 1, Techno Ninja, GFHD, Man Manor, Deep Dark Pain, Dr. Ironside, Ryan Brenner, Dr. Hoffman and Afray Studios. Thank you all for watching, I will see you all soon, and take care.